Hello, everyone, and welcome to this RTS Masterclass. You've had all kinds of genres all day today, and the final one is surely the most important genre of all, entertainment, and perhaps the most difficult.
Sorry, you've taken you over for the cakes as well, haven't we?
Oh, you've had your fill of cakes, hopefully. I'm Boyd Hilton. I'm the entertainment director of Heat magazine. New issue out today, 185 from your local newsagent. Value for money. And we've also got our awards. This is a plug for me now. We've got our first ever Unmissable Awards, which has got lots of TV awards for the best people on TV. So check that out. But more importantly, we are joined today by Angela Jain, who is Managing Director of ITV Studios Entertainment. Angela is responsible for some of the biggest and most well-known TV shows of our time, from I'm a Celebrity, new series starting in Sunday, University Challenge, perhaps surprisingly, Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway, the greatest entertainment show on TV in my opinion, and about 25 other different titles, and just under 1,000 hours of television per year. And as we're about to find out, Angela's career spanned being a producer of actual TV programmes, a commissioner, and also a channel controller to her job right now. And by the way, let me say, if you have any questions in the middle of what we're talking about, if you suddenly decide you have an important question about a topic we're talking about, please put your hand up, and we've got roving mics so we can come to you in the middle of the masterclass. We'll also be a period at the end where you can ask questions as well, but feel free to put your hand up and I'll try and come to you. But let's start, Angela, with where it all began, how you got to this exalted position. And it all started, I believe, with a little show called The Ozone. Is that fair? Is that fair enough?
Yeah, so I suppose maybe it's helpful, given that some of you might be thinking about... Oh, first and foremost, can I just say, this is the most horrible narcissistic thing I've ever done, and can we not make it about me? And if all I can do is help demystify television and make you realise, understand it's a really brilliant place to work, and you should try and work there, that's what I want to do. Oh, does I feel a bit icky?
It's not narcissistic.
Oh, it's horrible.
But it's useful to know. So yeah, how you went from your background to working on that show.
Sort of at the beginning, because I think it maybe is definitely relevant in my career. So I was born and brought up in this country, but my parents came to this country a couple of years before I was born. So I was obviously second generation Asian Indian. Nobody in my family has ever worked in the media. Nobody's ever worked in television. In fact, of my siblings, 2 are lawyers and 1's an environmental scientist. And so that was the road. Actually, ideally, my parents would have liked me to be a good Asian doctor. But I'm afraid I wasn't bright enough to be a good Asian doctor. I was quite musical, and they wanted me to not do anything to do with the creative businesses or music or anything that I was actually quite good at. So if you know me like Boyd does, that was absolutely the impetus I needed to get on and go and have a career in the media. As long as it would upset my parents, that was the motivation that I needed. So I went to a really bog standard school, to which the careers advice was try and leave school at 16 without being pregnant. Well, at least nice. I took that bit of advice. And so there was no aspirations, no nothing, no anything. And so the reason I say all of this is if I can do it, that surely means that anyone in this room can do it. And that's not to say that I jumped over loads and loads of hurdles, but it wasn't even in my line of sight, a career in television. So I went to university, and this is a bit of a recurrent theme. I didn't get into university, but I blagged my way into university because I felt I deserved to be at university. Fucking hell. So I blagged my way into university. And when I got to university, I went to a university where it was basically economics and social sciences. And so everyone ended up basically either being a lawyer or having a career in the city. And there weren't really that many people in telly. But I got a job in television in the end by not getting a job in television. So I went for a board interview at the BBC. I don't know if these things still exist, but it's a bit like being on X Factor. And it's totally intimidating. 5 people behind a desk, just literally in the most stuffy, old-school way, asking you really tedious questions. Like, in the middle of an interview about being a researcher on a television programme, can you wire a plug?
No.
Literally. And annoyingly, and to my own embarrassment, I couldn't wire a plug. Anyway, I didn't
That's probably the answer they wanted.
Yeah, probably. I didn't get the job, but fortunately for me, there was somebody on the panel who rang me up afterwards and said to me, I think you should have got the job. How can I help you get a job?
Wow.
How incredible is that? So they got me in touch with loads of people, and that led to my first job in television, which was a researcher on a children's television programme called The Ozone. This is about 23 years ago, and it was this is all such old school references. You probably weren't even born then. But I started my career in 1993. It was a very small music programme, but quite influential at the time. Felt quite groundbreaking. I felt like I was one of the cool kids. I was always breaking arrangements with my friends because I'm in Miami next week. I'm doing this next week. And it was the most exciting introduction to television you could ever hope to imagine. And I started on the Monday, and the team that made the entire half-hour television programme consisted of 3 people.
Wow.
So there was the exec producer who was also managing all of the children's BBC links in between the programmes. He was also managing our show, and I was the researcher, and there was a freelance director. So I started on the Monday, and you've got to remember, this context is important here. This is pre-internet, and on the Monday he said to me, can you set up a shoot with the other 2 who were half of New Order, and can you set it up in Paris on Wednesday? And that's your job. I went, what? So I was literally phone bashing for 24 hours, just persuading people to do things for me. And then I came back on Wednesday, really chuffed. Oh, mate, you know, it's really been brilliant. I've done a really good job. He said, on Friday, I can't get to the edit. Can you cut the programme? And I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. What does cut the programme mean? And he said, you'll be fine. There's really experienced editors. Just get on with it. And it's something I suppose I've taken with me, which is just throw people in at the deep end. They'll sink or swim, and just let people get on with it and empower people to do it. So I spent 18 months at the BBC, the most amazing training I could ever hope to have, because they sent me on single camera directing courses when I suppose people were sent on courses. And I came out at the end of it in 18 months as someone who could direct single camera films, could research shows, and could potentially be a TV producer.
Wow.
God, that's a really long-winded answer.
No, that's all we need. That's what we needed to know. And because all of you probably weren't born when the show was on, let's have a clip and see exactly what the ozone. Would you like to set it up?
It with one thing, only because we couldn't find a clip of the show. It's that old. So the only clip that exists on YouTube is a clip of the show before I even worked on it.
Oh, okay.
So just to be clear, I wasn't working on the show in 1989, but it's the only clip of the show we could find, and it's bloody hilarious.
Yeah, it's a good flavour of the ozone, which ran from 1989 to 2000, astonishingly enough. Let's have a look.
Do you want to play a game?
What's Oh, yeah, we like playing games.
Okay, you have to guess what this is. Now, I feed you both a cherry like this.
Okay, but hang on.
Like that. Nut, 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 nut. One more time. Nut, nut. What's that?
I'm not quite sure.
Then a cherry.
You're back.
Obviously a Friday night now. What are you planning to do tonight? I mean, you know...
Well, I might just sort of go out and sort of just go along to the Albert Hall or something like that.
Albert Hall is...
He came in
someplace
earlier, No, it's a place in London somewhere.
Oh, right.
It's a
I
round
see.
sort of a thing.
So what do you intend to do once you get there?
I don't know, I'm sort of going to mingle in the crowd. I think that'd be sort of quite a fun thing.
What about maybe singing a few Christmas carols at this time of year? Could be...
Yeah, that could be fun. I could do that. I might get up on stage and actually do that. I mean, I sort of like to get out there and actually...
And get involved?
Yeah.
Because you probably don't even know who the people in the clips are, do you?
Everyone knows who Sunita is, surely.
Yeah,
Come
that's
on.
true. That was Andy Peters on the left, Andy Crane sitting next to him, and Jason Donovan, obviously, there. Bonkers.
But I guess that gives you an idea. So every week there were all kinds of tasks, as you kind of referred to, that you had to get involved in. You were learning all of that on the job. Was it kind of as you expected it would be, being in TV at that time? And you said, you came from a traditional Asian background. Did you feel like an outsider as well, or were you embraced generally by the world of television? How does it feel that time?
I honestly don't think I felt like an outsider, because I don't even know if he still works at the BBC, but the guy who was my boss was a guy called Paul Smith, and he was just up for anything. So he just encouraged the voice and said, if you want to go and make that VT with that person, and you want to go go-karting with them, just go and do what you want. So maybe you could read it, you couldn't give a shit. But I think I read it as he felt that we should all be empowered just to do what we want. And honestly, it was so exciting and so glamorous. It really was. I mean, we were filming away from home all of the time. I just thought that I'd absolutely arrived. And I think it was the most exciting introduction into television for me, because also they, like I said, they invested in me. They sent me on courses. They just threw me in at the deep end, and I felt like maybe it was a really good start. I felt anything was possible.
It's interesting that that's a factual entertainment show, really,
Yeah.
effectively, which has been your kind of specialist area
Yeah.
that you've dealt with quite a lot throughout your career. What was the next step then? What was the next big thing?
So I spent probably the next 4 or 5 years as a freelancer. So I did everything from entertainment shows. I came up with documentary ideas. I did some animation shows. I mean, I did a whole bunch of different things. But what happened in the next 5 years was, and I've always done this in my career, if I can impart one piece of advice, which is I've always followed the job and not the money. So if I've really wanted to do it, I've just done it. It meant that over those 5 years, I had the most bonkers, incomprehensible CV, because I'd be doing documentary one minute and making a show about young entrepreneurs for Channel 4, and then I'd go and make an entertainment show, I'd go and make an audience for the spot. You know, I'd just be literally all over the place because I would just do whatever I fancied. But in the end, as you've hinted, it sort of made sense when a genre called factual entertainment began to have a specific name, and I was one of the very few people that could demonstrate at a relatively senior level, i.e. producer level, that I had done a bit of everything. And so when it came to be, I just found myself in this unbelievably unique position where I felt I could probably contribute in terms of not a journalistic perspective from a news and current affairs perspective, but from a journalistic perspective and an entertainment perspective. And it sort of all made sense of the randomness of my career over the previous 5 years.
And Channel 4, I guess, where you ended up, was kind of pioneering, I would say, factual entertainment.
Yeah, definitely. And I've worked at Channel 4 times now, and I was a producer of an access show called Right to Reply, which allowed viewers to come on television and quiz producers about the shows and, you know, say what they felt was right or wrong about it.
Which was a really good show.
It was a really good show.
Exist,
and
I think.
journalistically, for me, I was the producer of it. It was really good training for me. Then I was series producer of T4 at Channel 4, which is the complete opposite, because that was just a load of fun, and we'd just go and shoot a show on a Sunday morning in the canteen in Channel 4, and we were being paid to go to work every day, so that was hilarious. And then, you know, the factual entertainment thing started to sort of gather some momentum. Then I was making a documentary series about young entrepreneurs for Channel 4, and I got a call saying they were going to start a new entertainment channel, and did I want to be a commissioning editor?
Which I
That
guess was
was
E4. And do you think that journey from actually making shows, researching right at the beginning, to becoming a commissioner, do you think commissioners should have produced television programmes? Do you think that was an important part of that? Or do you think, you know, there's no set career path and you can just, if it's a matter of taste or it's a matter of impetus, you can be a commissioner of TV?
I don't think there should be any set career paths. What I would say is, in my experience of spending 15 years in commissioning, it served me really well. So I think it's been only beneficial to me. And I suppose all of the people I've ever worked for have had the same background as me. Talk about sort of casting in your own image a bit. But I don't think that stops anyone or should prevent anyone else from doing those jobs, because when I first started in television as well, which is not the case, I don't think now, I met loads of people for whom television was a second career. They'd been previously teachers, solicitors, all sorts of things. There was somebody who'd been a barrister and given up a proper job to come and work in television. And you know what I mean? And so that's what I loved about TV as well, is it felt much more inclusive. I think the challenge that, you know, I have and we have as senior people in this business is trying to make it feel as open as possible, because there's plenty of work there. I just think that people feel it's not for them. And the more I can say it's for you, because it should be for everybody, the happier I feel about that.
Did you have a clear sense of, I mean, this may sound like a stupid question, but of what factual entertainment is, as opposed to what factual TV is and what entertainment is?
Yeah, I think the lines just get more and more nebulous now, don't they? In so much as I don't enter any conversation now, and I don't make, like, Exposure or, you know, Unreported World. Those are shows that I don't make. But I don't enter any conversation now where people don't ask why, what's the sense of purpose, hence a factual perspective on it, and even in an entertainment show, and then conversely, people are always saying, but how are we going to make it entertaining? How are we going to make it cut through? So I think in terms of defining what factual entertainment is, I mean, honestly, that's as broad as the department I look after, which goes from University Challenge, Rinder, Jeremy Kyle, Crime Stories one end, all the way to Anton Deck, I'm a Celebrity, Love Island, and everything in between.
Right. One show that kind of defined Factual Entertainment and reality TV, and your career, I think it's safe to say, is Big Brother.
Yeah.
And we're going to see a clip from a truly historic episode of Big Brother, which may bring back difficult memories for you.
Yeah.
Shall we see the clip first? Do you want to
Yeah,
see
but just
that?
steel yourselves for it, because there's tons of swearing in it, and it's pretty...
It's quite hardcore.
It's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
I wonder if it just needs a teach a bit of setup, because I don't know if any of you will even be familiar with Big Brother when it was on Channel 4 and a race row happened. I can't remember the date, can you?
No, I can't remember the date.
I don't know, maybe 12 years ago or something? I can't even remember when it was. But unfortunately, I was in charge of the show. Ironic, obviously, because there was a race row going on.
It was the early 2000s, that's for sure.
It was something like that, wasn't it? And there's obviously a race row happening between Jade and Shilpa Shetty, who we've cast, all of that. And this comes almost at the pinnacle of that argument. It's pretty hardcore. And even though I lived through it, I watched the clip again. It made me come out in cold sweats. Anyway, here's the clip.
With that warning, let's have a look at this clip.
People to get a reaction.
Cleo and Shilpa are in the kitchen.
Where is the chicken stock?
What chicken stock? We haven't made any.
No, the chicken stock cubes.
Oh, I don't know. They must be around there somewhere.
Guys, have you all used up the chicken stock cubes?
There's one left, yeah. One left.
Y'all put the whole thing?
No, there's one left.
There's one left. Y'all used 4 cubes?
4 or 3?
Must have been 4, yeah.
3, I think. 4? 4.
Whatever, yeah. 3 or 4.
Just require 1.
But it wasn't enough for all that pasta.
You require 1 for that much pasta.
We wanted, well, I wanted
Yeah,
to.
and there was noodles.
There was
as well.
noodles and that.
It's the only thing I had ordered.
That's the only thing, what?
That I had ordered.
Yeah, there's things that I only ordered,
Because it-
but
Yeah, but
they
then
went.
that's for everyone, Shilpa. That was our
We
shopping
ordered that off the
centre.
shopping list, the big one.
You just... I
The
ordered
shopping
that.
ain't come yet. No,
Because,
that's
no,
from the
this is
last
the
one.
only thing that I ordered the last time, because...
That's the
I
only
didn't have-
thing. So
yeah,
on the
this-
last shopping list, you didn't order anything
I
else
ordered
but
this.
them.
I ordered this.
That was
ordered
it.
the
You
chicken.
didn't
That
order
was-
chicken,
I
you didn't order
ordered-
veg,
no,
you
no,
didn't
this
order
is the-
seasoning. Seasoning?
No, one minute. I just...
Sorry, I just thought you
I
ordered more
ordered
than
this
that.
for the food.
I thought, well, but
For
yeah,
most,
for the food, and
for
we
the,
had
for
food.
the rice.
And we had food,
I haven't made the rice.
but we had food. And we wanted to put it in our pasta.
Yeah, but you just require 1 cube.
But it was
not
a
4.
large
a
cup
lot.
of pasta.
Shilpa, there was
Just
a lot
require
there.
1.
There was a lot there.
Whatever amount, you just require 1. Did you put it in water?
Yeah.
You mixed it in water
Yeah.
and then put it?
Yeah.
Just require 1.
It tasted bland. I ordered dry fruits, but everyone's been eating them. It's fine. 'Cause what happens when you share a house? You share the
Did
shower.
3 cubes.
Get over it.
Fucking hell, it's a fucking cube.
3 cubes, okay, Shilpa, it's 3 cubes. But yes, the other day it was a whole chicken that went to waste because it was pink.
Are you blaming me for that chicken going waste?
Am I blaming it for the what?
For the chicken going waste?
A lot of people didn't eat it, did they? We had this the other night, didn't we?
A lot of people didn't eat because y'all also had a lot of rice.
A lot of rice.
Y'all would have eaten it if there was no rice on the table.
Well, no, because it was red.
Gosh,
only an
appreciation would be
oxo cube. You
nice.
shouldn't get so uptight
Appreciation
over an
would be
oxo
nice,
cube.
Jade, but I don't
shouldn't get
expect
so
that from
uptight
you.
about an oxo cube. You've got your seasoning out there, pots of them. Fucking use the fucking oxo cube. So what? Whether we use 1, 3, 4 or 5. So what?
They were hers.
She had a bit of pasta, they were hers. It's the only thing I ordered off the shopping list. Piss off, Shilpa.
They were
You was all
hers.
over that shopping list like there was no tomorrow. We need these, we need this, we need these. Who else, who ordered the leaves then? It's not the fucking only thing you ordered, you liar. I fucking hate liars. Don't lie for something so stupid. So what? I ate an oxo cube. Shoot me in my pissing head. Fucking wanker. Sorry.
I suddenly feel better.
It's fucking pathetic. Well, I don't. I feel furious.
Jade, you're hilarious.
Don't tell me we're wasting food when we've ate the food that we cooked. Because we used fucking the only thing you ordered. Don't lie, neither. Lies. Why lie? She did the whole shopping list.
Oh, that's so uncomfortable on so many levels.
Yeah. And so at that time, is it safe to say that Channel 4 needed you to represent them? Because this became, it's no exaggeration, it was mentioned in Parliament, it was on...
Gordon Brown was on a trade trip
Yeah.
in India, and mobs came out with dolls of the producers of the programme burning them.
Right. It was a massive...
It was
It was the news story of that period. And so Channel 4 needed people to talk about and represent them. It's safe to say they came to you because you were a non-white, one of the few, perhaps, non-white people there to kind of defend them. What was that like?
Oh, I would define it as my absolute career low in many respects because, ironically, obviously I was part of the process that agreed that Shilpa should be on the show, and obviously all the other contributors. And I know it will seem utterly insane and almost like I'm a revisionist historian, but I promise you this is the case, because there are other people there, so I know it's the case, that we put her on the television, because don't forget at the time Channel 4 was very much about different voices, because we thought it would be a really good idea to put a different voice on there. And as it happened, I was the person that signed her off, and the other person that signed her off from Channel 4 was Prash Naik, who's just left, and he was the head of legal, and he's half Nepalese and half Indian. And we were standing there high-fiving ourselves, thinking what a good job we'd done to give these people, you know, to give her a voice, and then this blew up. But it's lots of interesting things. I think Big Brother is one of the most truly revolutionary programmes that's happened in my career. And as a result of that, how many fixed rig shows do you see everywhere? Factual have adopted it, documentaries everywhere. So for that reason alone, I wanted to show the clip. But also, like you say, when it came to it, who was an easy... I mean, I was doorstepped. I couldn't live in my house. I mean, it was horrendous. I had a small child at the time. He was like 15 months old. It was absolutely horrendous. But what it taught me, well, it taught me lots of things. It taught me lots and lots of things about crisis management, about how to get through these things, about how we weren't in control of the show, because we didn't know what was happening, because it was such a fast-moving show, and we couldn't watch all 24 camera feeds and work out what the hell was going on. That I still stand by the fact that we had a responsibility to show the truth, which is why we showed it, but what we then didn't do was own the story after it happened. So then when it got out of our control, and it was rolling Sky News, and journalists were writing about it, and Gordon Brown was talking about it, and then that just proves the power of television, that Gordon Brown felt the need to comment on Big Brother, which was on Channel 4, over in India, but that's a whole other story. It just shows the power of television and what you can do, and that seemingly when you're innocently making an entertainment show, its impact can be really far-reaching. And every day I think about that, so that the choices that I make are completely influenced by understanding the power of what we do, and that how that you go straight into people's, uninvited, straight into people's living rooms, and that carries with it a responsibility, which is exciting, but when the shit hits the fan, is really quite horrible.
Do you think the way... I mean, obviously Big Brother's now on Channel 5, and it's less of a... I mean, it just is less of a big deal, but do you think that could happen now? And if it happened now on a show that you were working on, if a similar situation happened on Love Island or something, which you're in charge of, how would you deal with it? Could, you know, what would happen?
I suppose it's like anything, isn't it? If you're a stupid person if you make the same mistake twice, aren't you? So hopefully what you learn from these kinds of situations is how to cope with them when you see them. And I can definitely see that situation before it's happening now. And also it was different times then. This was the first TV story of its kind that got a momentum in rolling news coverage. Then subsequently, I think Andy Harris talked about it earlier, didn't he? The Queen affair at the BBC, which obviously lost people their jobs and everything. In this situation, nobody lost their job. And as it happens, Lord Hall, as he now is Director General, was called into Channel 4 to do, you know, a huge debrief on the entire show and how it was run. And it was only at that point they worked out that I was not only the commissioner, but the legal and the compliance on the show and everything, and I was doing it on my own every single day for 17 weeks of the year. Wow. And they changed the systems subsequently. But I suppose, hopefully, the whole point of that is that you just learn from those situations. You can hopefully potentially see them before they happen, but that also, I think you have to have career lows in order to also appreciate the career highs, but also that gives you a steeliness, which you absolutely need in this business. You need to be pretty Teflon coated, because not only is it a tough business, because for for every person that's doing their job, there's probably another 300 that want to do that job. But that equally, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride, this business.
And at that time, when you, in your day job as commissioner, did you find it easy to stamp your kind of taste and personality on what you were commissioning, or was that not the point in a way? You know, you talked about how you did get involved in the selection of the celebrities for that series of Big Brother. Did you feel like you wanted to kind of stamp your taste
I think when you're a commissioner as well, and I know that now because obviously I'm not a commissioner anymore and I don't hold the position of power, I'm constantly selling now. You absolutely do have the power to do that, and so we used to do it all the time. I remember when I was at Channel 4 and Pete, oh God, what was Pete's surname? Pete with Tourette's won Big Brother, can't remember his surname, and I remember Alison Walsh, who was the disability BAME sort of advisor for the whole of Channel 4, said, single-handedly, in that one show, you have done more for representation than the previous 10 years on Channel 4, because that's the power of what you do when you're making an entertainment show that was watched at, I don't know at that time, by 7 or 8 million people. And so I feel that, and so I feel like it's important. And it can be something small as well. You know, I've got a good track record of breaking lots of new talent, giving Jack Whitehall his first show, Simon Amstel, Russell Brand, all of those people, and I take some joy in that, as equally as, you know, writers and directors, and, you know, that's part of the fun bit of this job, actually, to be honest.
It's a great to think Russell Brand, kind of his big break was hosting Big Brother's Little Brother.
Yeah, exactly. Big Brother's Big Mouth.
Big Brother's Big Mouth, sorry.
Exactly,
yes.
exactly.
Now, when you became the head of E4, which you mentioned before, was that a job, did you think when you were going for that job, when it was offered to you, do you think, oh yeah, I know what this channel's going to be like, I can feel I know what to do, or was it, again, a kind of a brand new learning process, creating that channel and establishing it?
I didn't know what the job was, but I was one of the initial 3 commissioning editors that started the channel, so I could absolutely feel it. I'd worked at Channel 4 for 2 or 3 years previously, managing Big Brother and commissioning other shows like Space Cadets and all sorts of crap in between.
What was Space Cadets? Briefly explain what Space Cadets was.
Oh my God, it was like the biggest Beatles about hidden camera stunt you've ever seen. So we convinced a group of people, normal people, that they were going up in space on a Russian space program, and they never left an airfield in Norfolk.
It was a pretty ambitious stunt.
5 nights of absolute madness.
Yeah.
I'm very proud to have it on my CV.
Good.
But I suppose, you know, I can't imagine anyone commissioning that now, let's be honest. But anyway, so when they talked to me about the E4 job, I absolutely loved Channel 4, loved working there. E4 just felt like the best job in the world. When I think about the people who'd done the job prior to me, I knew I was stepping into big shoes, but great shoes. And it just felt like, why not be given the opportunity to run your own TV channel? And I felt really comfortable at Channel 4, so it felt like I've never in my career gone for a job that I don't feel I'm like that much away from being able to do. I'm not one of those people that goes for a job that's like 5 steps ahead of me, because I shit myself thinking I won't be able to do it properly, and I don't want to do that. I want to just do it as well as I possibly can, and equally, by the way, have a lot of fun doing it, because otherwise I don't understand why anyone wants to work in television.
But when you were head of E4, so far it's all been about entertainment and factual entertainment, non-scripted stuff, really. E4 had a lot of scripted stuff. In fact, one particular show that we're going to see a clip of in a minute kind of defined the channel in some ways, didn't it? The In-Betweeners.
Yeah, you're right. Obviously, I forgot. The biggest carrot, if there was one for me, was the opportunity to be able to commission shows outside of my comfort zone. So drama, so I commissioned The Misfits, and obviously the clip that you're about to show.
So before we talk about it, let's have a look at the classic comedy show that is The In-Betweeners.
Well, that was great. Let's head back then. What? You said we could go out to sea. Well, we can't. And put your life jacket on. The sea can be a cruel mistress.
Oh, what's this? Is this the sail?
It's a fishing line. Give it here. Neil, do not
What happens now?
Nothing. You've got to put bait on it. Please don't muck around. There's a £150 deposit on this boat. Oh, cool. The sea. Let's get out there. Oh, fuck, no, don't! You are literally rocking the boat! I knew this was going to happen. I'm turning this round and taking us back. Oh, fuck! Oh, God! Oh, no! Sorry, Simon!
Holy fucking shit, that's cold!
Get out, Neil!
Why did you do that? Was it because of Lauren?
No! God, no! It was an accident!
You total bellend. I thought we were friends.
I'm sorry. Shit, we better head straight back in.
Enjoy your swim. What? I'm really cold. Like, to my bones.
He's gonna get hypothermia unless we get him out of those wet clothes. Neil, undress him.
Oh, knew it.
What?
You've been waiting for this. I knew you were bent for him.
It's basic first aid. I was in the Scouts and we did this.
Yeah, I bet that's not all you did in the Scouts.
No, you're right. We did knots too.
I'm cold. Could someone get me some hair gel?
Oh, don't take his pants off, Neil. You're not your dad.
He has to. It's the safest way. Put that coat round him, Neil. I'll get the engine started.
Don't worry, I'll cover him up.
Oh, fuck. Why would this start? Jay, get that line in.
All right. Don't shit yourself.
How's this happen?
I think it's caught on something.
It must be caught around the engine.
Can I huddle up to someone, please? I'm really cold. Is anyone else really cold? Like, really cold?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Oh, my.
How the hell has that happened?
I don't know, it didn't have any bait on it.
Get it out!
It's all right, it's just a fish.
It's a fucking terrifying massive fish, Neil! Get rid of it!
Oh, God, he's shit himself.
It's all right.
Fuck that. We're in serious trouble here.
What? Oh, what?
That's only for emergencies! For emergencies! Oh, brilliant.
Oh, my gosh. That looks warm.
Why the fuck did you do that?
Get the sea police out.
And say what? Help, we've caught a fish and we're already in the harbour. What are they going to do? Tow us 4 feet closer to the shore?
What if it's a shark?
It's not a shark, Jay.
Oh, get it out, Neil.
I better kill it. It's the kindest thing to do. It won't survive back in the sea now.
Oh, mate, isn't that just such a brilliant show?
Yeah. We were saying before this, we could have shown.
We could have shown the whole episode, couldn't we?
Hours of the in-between. But this is the thing that started off. It's easy to forget. It started off with a few 100,000, you know, brand new writers, as far as I'm aware.
Oh my God!
New cast, and then ended up being this phenomenon with millions watching and 2 films.
I mean, Boyd, let me tell you, geez. I mean, what's interesting is, you know, obviously, so the two writers are Damon Beasley and Ian Morris, and part of the reason this came to be is because when I talked about the launch of E4, they hired 3 commissioning editors. It was myself, Damon Beasley, the writer of The In-Betweeners, and Danny Cohen, who then went on to be like director of television at the BBC.
Yes.
So I'm the bloody slouch in the lot of it. But anyway, so there was the 3 of us. So we had history together. So trusted voice and everything. But I recommissioned the second series before the first series had gone out, and my boss, who now runs ITV channel now, Kevin Ligo, called me in and said, I hear on the grapevine you've recommissioned the series. And I went, oh, yeah, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. Honestly, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. I've already told the boys they can have another series. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. And then episode 2, it went down to 200,000 viewers.
Wow.
And he called me in again, and I said, OK, if I'm going to lose my job, that's absolutely fine, but you can't renege on it because I've told them they've got a second series. And then it ended up at 3.5 million, didn't it?
Yeah. And what was it about it? You know, can you describe, reading the early scripts and can you define what makes a hit like that, particularly in the world of comedy?
Oh my God, I swear to God, if anybody in this room had read the scripts, they would have pissed themselves laughing. Right. It was not a difficult decision. I only had 2 contributions to the entire conversation because it was initially called Baggy Trousers and set in the 80s. And I felt really strongly that it needed to be as relatable as possible. So I didn't want it to be a period piece set in the 80s. And also felt that replicating the 80s properly would just be a waste of money on screen, and I didn't want them to do that. So I said, just make it present day. I don't want any 80s references, because in the end, if you know the boys, as you do, it's completely autobiographical, down to they haven't even changed the names of their friends, which was the other thing I did say to them. I said, so when Jay sees himself on telly, have you told Jay? And they went, no, Jay will be all right, it'll be absolutely fine. I'm thinking, what the fuck? You can at least change his name.
Yeah.
And they didn't even bother to change their names. Anyway, so they did that, and I mean, I'm sort of oversimplifying it, but honestly, it's a bit like when I commissioned Plebs at ITV2. It sort of just commissioned itself. You know, I had to make sure that a company I'd never worked with on Plebs were working with somebody I trusted, so I did my bit of the job, But when something's as good as that, honestly, it's a no-brainer.
Did you ever get... Because one of the things about the In-Betweens that made it so special, I think, was that it was quite edgy in terms of its language. We saw someone there.
Now you've heard me.
Yeah.
Makes complete sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. But also subject matter, politically incorrect, whatever you want to call it. And did you get... I guess it's important for them to have that freedom. Did you ever... 100%. Was there ever stuff in it that you thought, no, you've gone too far? Or did you ever question...
They never went too far. The only accusation would ever be, that's not funny enough, go and make it funnier.
Right.
It was absolutely, E4 at that time was a place where you did stuff like that and no one else was doing it, and that's what it was all about. If, you know, and my job as the channel controller, I think when it comes particularly to scripted, is to keep the purity of the voice. So like I say, when it's as good as that, it just needs some refining around the edges. But in the end, my adulteration of that voice would have made it a much worse show. So that would have been self-defeating.
Did you ever talk to them about how, you know, was there a kind of secret? It was autobiographical, which I guess was one thing, right, about what you know. Was there anything else that they was kind of a secret to why it was different? Because there's a lot of similar shows. This was something special.
I think, and I've learnt this a lot in my career because it relates to the In-Betweens, it relates to Plebs, and it definitely relates to Love Island. What I hopefully did for them was give it the space to grow. Because at the end of the first series, that did not have automatic recommission written all over it. And as I've explained, I'd already done that anyway. But my job was to see the potential in something and stick with it, rather than run for the hills when it wasn't quite working. So my position as the channel controller was to defend that show and say to people, you need to trust my judgment that this is a show worth persevering with. So in terms of... And you know, Boyd, as well as anybody, because you write about this stuff, sometimes there's just some weird alchemy and a whole bunch of circumstances come into play and right place, right time, and it just works.
I remember I've interviewed them a few times, and one thing they did say is right from the start, they rewrote and rewrote.
They were so...
worked very hard. In one way, hard work is one of the keys to it, isn't it? That this wasn't just this thing they knocked off. They just, you know, they were doing 10, 11, 12 drafts.
If I had any anxiety, it was they might suffer from the first album syndrome, which was that they poured their entire heart and soul into Series 1.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, how much is there left to rake for Series 2? But yet they came up with it. And in the end, they took the right decision after 3 series. That's run its course. Let's go and do something else. And, you know, of course, that was an absolute wrench, finishing something on such a high, but it was obviously the right thing to do for the show. And, you know, when you are a commissioner or a channel controller, for me, the job is really, really clear. Give people the context for why that show is right for that channel, that place. Give them the right environment in which for it to arrive, and then support and nurture it. And that means everything from letting them get on with it, trusting them, trust is obviously a big thing, to making sure that the marketing campaign is on the front foot and the very best, and I really push for that, and extra money for it, and all of that. And, you know, when the marketing was going off on a total tangent, you know, I pushed really, really hard that this was my biggest priority for the channel this year, and everybody needed to get behind it. So.
And from E4, you then went to ITV digital channels.
Yeah.
ITV2, I guess, particularly important. Could you define what the move from E4 to ITV2 felt like for you, and what the difference between ITV2 and E4 in terms of its audience?
Can I say this? But the move from E4 to ITV2 was thrust upon me. I lost my job whilst on maternity leave. So I was forced to reassess what I was going to do. Hopefully, I think you get this, I absolutely loved running E4. It's one of my most favourite times in my career, so I wasn't ready to leave. I was just ready to have a baby. But anyway, that got in the way. And so when I found myself redundant, the phone rang, and in the most unexpected places. And I'll be really honest with you, I wasn't considering a career at ITV, but at the time, a guy called Peter Fitcham was in charge, and he's very charming and persuasive. And I felt that I could add something. And so I'd never worked at ITV, and my old boss, Kevin Ligo, was there. So there's some familiar faces, and I thought, why not? Why don't I give it a go and see what I can do to ITV2? Because at the time, it was most well known for Towie and for Celebrity Juice, both brilliant shows, by the way. But given my background and the success I'd had with the In-Betweeners, I thought I wanted to put more scripted comedy on it, and my mantra was just make everything funny. So in the end, everything had a funny voiceover, everything had the ambition to be funny. I just wanted to make it a really funny place to be. And also because I'd left E4, and I knew that they were going to restructure it, I felt there wasn't going to be somebody who was going to be championing you for, so I felt I could see a gap there.
And you mentioned Plebs, which was a great show. Some similarities to The In-Betweeners, but I think that...
Well, most people wrote about The In-Betweeners
They
in
did.
Rome,
I did.
which I went, happy days.
Yes.
Thanks very much.
Absolutely. And still going another series along the way,
Yep.
I believe. But surely the big defining show, I feel, of ITV2 in recent times is Love Island,
Yep.
which is easy to forget again, started out as a celebrity show on ITV years ago. So what was it about it that you thought we can repurpose this for ITV2 and it'll work?
Well, sort of, as you've seen a canter through my career, it probably all might now begin to add up. So I'd looked after Big Brother for 7 years. It'd been a really important part of my life. I could see Big Brother on Channel 5, and I knew there had to be another game in town other than Big Brother. So I felt quite strongly I wanted a stripped reality show. I rather naively thought that Love Island in its first iteration as it was on the main channel on ITV would mean something to the audience. As it turns out, it meant nothing to the audience, but I thought I could buy an easy way in for the audience. But it got a lot of press attention, which helped get it some attention in the first place. There was two things I'd wanted to do whilst I'd been at ITV2, amongst lots of other things. One was to nick Family Guy. So bittersweet as it was, BBC Three's move online, I was the first person to pick up the phone to Fox and say, "Hi, would you like to sell it to me?" And I really absolutely love that show, so love it. And then I also thought, having run Big Brother, I know how fundamentally crucial a show like that can be for a channel. And so I sort of did a bit of a beauty parade, asked people to tender, and Love Island came up, and I thought I was buying the old Love Island. And then as soon as I made the decision to buy Love Island, the first conversation I had with the producer at the time, who obviously now would make it, it's a bit weird, but the producer at the time was, and by the way, I want it nothing like the previous Love Island. Because I always loved Love Island on ITV main channel, but I always felt it was a good show on the wrong channel. And what I felt was we could make it really young and funny and give it some wit and make... I mean, it's really bittersweet for me, but sort of kill Big Brother in the process and make Big Brother not just the only game in town. And that's eventually what happened.
Which
the series just gone.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say it is killing, if not killed, Big Brother. As if we need reminding, let's remind ourselves of...
Yeah, the only up-to-date clip I'm actually showing you that you might have heard of.
Let's have a look at some Love Island.
Are you ready for love? Yeah!
It's time to couple up.
Oh, wow.
We're gonna be kissing each other!
It's a hard life.
If we actually get along.
We'll fall in love. It's time to play a game of speedy sex positions.
We're going to get to know each other really well after this. How's that out of 10?
9. Every person in this place fancies me.
Oh my God. He needs putting in his place bad, and I feel like I could do it.
You are very confrontational. Everyone else thought it as well in the whole room.
You're a feminist, aren't you?
Shouldn't we all be feminists? How could I have been so stupid to kiss someone that I don't know?
I'm not saying women shouldn't have equal rights. I'm saying I think they have more equal rights than she seems to think.
When someone walks through that door, you need to get on it.
Mike walks through a door. He's very fit. Very fit. No.
You're trying to keep me on my toes or something?
Treating me and keeping keen.
Love Island has played me.
Let the games begin. Who is your girl's celebrity crush?
Jason Statham. There's love in the air. You can sense it. Let's just see how much our love escalates. Is that a word? Escalates. I think I've made that word up. Escalates.
You've educated the nation.
Yeah.
So serious.
You definitely have educated us, yeah. I mean, again, to be honest, I remember when I first got the press release announcing there was Love Island, that it was being... why? What,
Do you think she's gone mad?
I thought you've gone mad, yeah. It's become a cultural phenomenon. I mean, people are writing about it in the Times and think pieces on radio and...
Well, that's when we know when we've arrived.
That's when you know when you've arrived.
Pieces are everywhere,
exactly, yeah. So can you pinpoint why is it so popular? Why is it of such appeal to its target audience, as opposed to, say, Big Brother, which does feel it's in decline?
God, you're probably better placed to analyse it than me, but I suppose what I would say is I feel like even down to the casting, I'm always saying we need to surprise the audience. So Camilla this year was a massive bit of surprise casting. I think everyone just thinks that everyone that goes on Love Island is going to be a cookie-cutter Towie person. And of course, we want the bedrock of the show to be that, but maybe goes back to my Big Brother thing. I'm constantly saying something, but what are we trying to say about this show, and why now, and why are we doing it? But without making that front and centre. Maybe, you know, it's gorgeous people, not wearing much clothes, in an unbelievable environment, which obviously makes Big Brother look grey and depressing. And honestly, the bit where it really took off was post-Brexit last year. Absolutely, I kid you not. The day after, there was a spike, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And at that point, take yourselves back. I don't know how you feel about it, but I was fucking miserable. It was just a lovely bit of escapism, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it just took people somewhere else. And maybe if you do anything, the responsibility that I have in either commissioning or pitching is to see where the nation is and in some way reflect that back to them, but also be half a step ahead of that. So maybe it's that, and maybe, do you know what, at the end, it's just all a piece of good luck and good fortune that all the stars were in alignment and it happened. But going back to that recommissioning thing, when I recommissioned Love Island, I was in my old job running ITV2 and a bunch of other digital channels. And at the time, my boss said to me, so you want to recommission it? And at that time, I think the average ratings were like 400,000. That does not have recommission written all over it. Neither does it say what it did last series, which is it's going to do 2.5 million overnights every single night.
Yeah.
And I went, I don't know. I mean, I think so. Trust me. I use that a lot in my career. Trust me. I think so. And if the shit hits the fan and it's a disaster after series 2, sack me. I use that quite a lot as well. Sack me, but trust me because I think it's going to work.
Yeah.
And it did. And then why it took off series 3, I don't know.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know, but like you say, 51-year-olds were writing about it in the Sunday Times. And in a way, we got to that unbelievable position where we were sort of having to fend people away from it because we couldn't cope with the demand for people to want to write and talk about it. And then you take great comfort in that because you go, now I've made something. No one ever sets out, I don't think, in television to make something that no one wants to watch. You set out to make mass entertainment. I'll never forget that my old boss, Kevin Ligo, I remember him saying this to me. He went out for lunch with Neil McGregor, who at the time was running the National Gallery. This must be years ago. And they'd had their biggest selling exhibition ever in the history of the National Gallery. It was a Titian exhibition. And he was absolutely overjoyed with a number of people that had come through the doors of the National Gallery over 3 months to see the Titian exhibition. And it was 800,000 people. And I remember Kevin saying to me that. And I said, I'd kill myself if I came into you. And that's all that someone had watched. Yeah. And that shows the power of what you do.
Absolutely. And you get to hang out with Chris and Ken.
Yeah, they're really nice. Although it's gone to their heads a bit.
Is it? Okay.
Well, as you'd fully
inevitable,
expect.
isn't it? Yeah.
As you'd fully expect.
Overnight stardom. It's hard.
Yeah, and also for them it really has. 1 minute they were in the supermarket, next minute they can't go to the supermarket without being stopped by everybody, and good for them. Look, you know, that was the joy of actually my time at Big Brother, when we wrestled about whether this should, the Love Island, the iteration as it is now, should feature celebrities or non-celebrities. And it's the Towie thing. Wouldn't it just be nicer to make your own celebrities? And hey-ho, we have. Because we also now make all of those spin-off shows that relate to them.
Right. And before I throw it open to the audience for questions, I didn't really notice whether any people's hands up. It's hard to pay attention to the audience and you at the same time. But before we do that, let's talk about your current job then, as head of entertainment at ITV Studios. What does that involve? What do you actually do? And what do you think is the future of entertainment then?
Well, I would... If there's one thing I take great joy in about it, as relates to Love Island, is that everyone says, oh, getting young people to watch television, it's impossible, that's dead, no one who's young watches television. Well, bullshit's that, because they all watch Love Island. So that puts paid to that dirty lie, which is not true. So if that therefore means that this then signals another renaissance in entertainment, well, good. I'm glad to be part of that. And of course, I wouldn't be doing my job going out there, coming up with ideas and pitching ideas if I didn't feel there was a place for them. So obviously, I feel confident and optimistic about the future of entertainment. My job on a daily basis is hopefully to reach into those years of experience and when a problem is happening, help someone try and solve it. When we're coming up with ideas, because I've been a commissioner, I have heard probably 1 million pitches. I know what a good pitch looks like and what a bad pitch looks like. It's to draw on all of that experience and make sense of it in the context of trying to grow a business that is already in quite rude health, but I just want to be even bigger than it is already.
And for example, you hands-on for like the I'm a Celebrity starts on Sunday. They've all arrived in the island. Boris Johnson's dad is there.
Oh, that's a great booking, isn't it?
Great booking. Brilliant
Do we
booking.
agree? Oh, Stanley Johnson. It's going to be a great booking.
Would you get involved in that on that level?
Yeah. Because that's the fun bit,
Yeah,
isn't it?
of course.
You get to play God in people's lives and decide whether they should be in or out. I mean, the meetings we have with people's faces are like this big, laminated, and we're just moving them around all the time, or sometimes they're moving themselves out.
Yes.
And the fun that we have with that and trying to imagine who should be with who and why, and we do that on all casting of all shows, that's the fun bit, because there's quite a lot of gloomy bits I have to deal with, like P&Ls and overheads and costs and all of that. That's the fun bit.
Nice. It does sound like fun. Right, let's throw it open to the audience. And, question already over there. Will there be a mic on its way any second now?
Oh, God, I hope I haven't bored the arse off you and you're still awake.
I was interested. Yes.
This might be a little bit of a selfish question because I'm a little bit older than everyone else, mostly in the room. But I just wanted to ask you about your work-life balance. And you mentioned, you'd gone off on maternity.
Shit.
As a mother, how have you found working in the television industry? How have you made sure that it hasn't negatively affected your career? I know that that's annoying.
My kids when they're in therapy.
I know that that's an annoying question because men don't get asked it.
No, look, it is an annoying question on that level, because women only get asked it. But if I can present any solidarity, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's a pain in the arse and it's really difficult. And there's good days and bad days. And, you have to have a great support structure and a really understanding partner and all of that. And like I say, talk to my kids when they're in therapy, because they'll probably have a few words to say about it. I just try and manage it as best I can. But I think anyone who knows me knows that I put that very much front and centre of conversations. And I'm very straightforward about it. And I'm always on the end of the phone, but I'm now leaving because I've got to go to parents' evening or whatever. And sometimes you can't, because sometimes there's a crisis and you can't do it, and you're constantly doing that. I mean, I'll never forget when that whole... no, it was later, when it was... God, what was that girl's name that said the N-word on Big Brother?
Oh, God.
Oh, jeez, I can't remember. Anyway, she said the N-word, and I had to be on News at 1. Is it News at 1 or whatever the thing's called? On the BBC. And I was really psyching myself up at Elstree Studios, and my oldest child was 4 at the time, or 5 or something. And I don't like doing live television, by the way. I don't like doing anything. The reason I'm behind the camera is so I'm not in front of the camera. But anyway, I had to do it. And of course, I got wheeled out because it was the M-word and it'd be good to put a brown face on the telly, obviously. That makes it a defensible position. And 2 minutes before, my nanny rang and said, "Oh my God, where are you?" And I went, "Oh. Well, that's fucking caring, isn't it? Because I'm about to do News at 1, and I've got a shitstorm, and I've got to deal with it, and I'm going to do another thing, and it's pre-recorded." And she went, "Oh, it's your son's sports day, and he's expecting you." And I felt physically sick. And I thought, you can't just do it all of the time. I just thought, I didn't even remember. I mean, that's so awful, and I felt physically sick. So, like I say, sometimes you have good days, and sometimes you have bad days. And, like I say, talk to my kids. Poor, badly adjusted children that they are.
Thank you.
Oh, no, but what I would want to say, just in conclusion, though, is don't let it put you off working in this business, though. Don't let it put you off working in this business.
Yes.
Sorry, in conclusion,
very important.
That's what I want to say. Because I now feel it sounds really negative, but it isn't supposed to be. But just be self-aware that it won't always work out.
I think there's a woman back there. Yeah, right, second row from the back.
Hi, you mentioned pitches. Can you give us some good advice about good pitches or funny stories about bad pitches?
I suppose my advice is probably consistent to anybody, which is be passionate. Go in with ideas that you really believe in. Don't go in with 500 ideas looking like Arthur Daly and the used car salesman, because no one believes that, do they? And go in with a reason as to why you're doing it and why you should do it now, and if it's relevant, talent attached that make people think you've really thought this through. I mean, I interrogate every pitch before we do it, because in the most annoying way, I completely role-play it with my team. I go, right, OK, pitch it to me then. And I say, I'll ask that question. And we go, oh, God. I said, well, if we haven't got to answer that question, we're not ready for it. I go back, go and answer that question, and let's be ready for it. So we sort of role-play it, only because, obviously, I feel confident in doing that. But, less is always more, always more. And I would say, in my commissioning career, over 50% of the ideas that I commissioned were after the pitch had ended and we're saying goodbye to each other by the door or at the meeting room, someone says something in non-pitch mode, like they've completely relaxed, and it sparks a conversation. I go, oh my God, come back to me with that idea. That sounds amazing. And that's over 50% of the ideas I've commissioned. So also, I suppose what I'm saying is relax. Hard as it is to do that, believe in what you're selling, but also relax when you're trying to sell it.
Thank you. Yeah, guy just there in the middle of that row, yeah.
Hi. Why do you think it is that in the US there's hours and hours of sort of like late night talk show television, but it hasn't really come across the Atlantic and made it in the UK?
Well, the US market is completely different to here. I mean, it's just completely different, and it's syndicated, and it's just different. And, you know, you have to think about all the cultural imperatives that are placed there, that they have a history of talk shows working. And so Kevin Ligo, who runs ITV, made a stab at that last year with the nightly show, rightly or wrongly, for probably a number of reasons, it didn't quite land. I think, you know, I think it's really hard to get people to change their viewing habits in this country when they're just not used to it. And sort of post 10 o'clock now, what we know in this fragmented landscape is that the entire TV universe scatters everywhere. So a late night talk show is not going to do the numbers that it does in the US, partly because of the way that the US TV industry is structured differently to ours, and that we are much more nascent in terms of our journey on that whole fragmented universe. They're much more mature in that area.
And those shows in America make a huge amount of money, don't they? Which
and there's no monetising here of those shows,
right.
because there's no valuable commercial airtime in those slots. And also, by the way, those shows have to live or die, I think, by the talent that's hosting them. So it might be right at some point for the right talent.
And they have about 20 writers as well.
Yeah, and they're funded to high heaven,
Yes.
aren't they? They're an expensive endeavour.
Yeah. Yeah, just back to there.
Thank you. With a show like Love Island that's really taking off, and with the whole escapism from audiences, and like Big Brother is quite revolutionary, are you now looking at selling Love Island abroad, around Europe, to different...
Yeah, it's already been sold in quite a lot of territories. So it's already been on in Germany. It's been sold to, I don't know how public knowledge this is. Anyway, it's been sold to Australia, to Finland, to Norway, to Sweden. I mean, it's been sold to already over half a dozen territories. You know, when there's oh, I feel a bit arrogant saying this, but when there's a show that's been as talked about as that, if you're anywhere, you can't ignore it. So it doesn't mean they'll necessarily buy it, but everyone's been sniffing around it. Because you can't ignore it, can you? And even if you don't commission a format version of it, you're probably going to learn things from it that you'll take into other shows.
Thank you. Time for a couple more questions? Yep.
Hello. Just a question. Reality TV usually has this idea of it being trash. How do you sort of avoid that when you're commissioning
Thanks
it?
for trashing my entire career.
Your opinion.
Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, basically, like, how do you go about avoiding that?
Do you know what I think about all of these things? I just approach them as they are. In a way, when you sidestep people and immediately go, I know you think this is shit, or it's trash, or it's, you know, it's the lowest common denominator, it has a place. I don't want to put it in some kind of exalted place where it sits along Jimmy Savile's exposure. Of course not. That occupies its very own space for which it should be utterly applauded. But if you're entertaining people, should there be a snobbery about that? I mean, of course, it's only going to sound self-serving if I say there shouldn't be. And of course, I've spent a lot of time in the world of reality TV. I suppose all I ever want to do is make the very, very best reality TV. If I'm making shit reality TV or trashy reality TV, I don't feel great about that. But no one ever sets out to make crap, do they? It's just something, lots of things can happen along the way. But if I'm going to do it, I just want to make it the very best, and there should be no value judgment placed on because it's entertaining, it's any less worthy, is what I would say.
Lady right in the front.
Hi. I'm fascinated by your experience and your expertise. And I just got this idea of asking you, what do you think about the well-known reality show Keeping Up with the Kardashians?
Well, I mean, you know, God knows how many trillions of dollars it's made the people that are in it. And I think it's not for me, but that doesn't mean I don't understand the value of that show. And access documentaries, which is essentially what that is an access piece, have been here since time immemorial. what is incumbent upon all of us, if we're coming up with ideas for new television programmes, is a different way of doing it. So hence when I was at Channel 4 and that fixed rig was obviously on Big Brother, nothing to do with me, but the most revolutionary thing. I remember a documentary commissioning editor at the time in Factual called Simon Dixon came and said to me, "Oh, Ange, how do you make Big Brother? Can you tell me all about it? I've had this absolutely crazy idea. What if we did Big Brother for Factual?" So I spent months and months and months working with him. And that fusion of those two genres obviously is now everywhere, as I said earlier, but the same with the Kardashians. Where something begins and where something ends, it's hard to sometimes say because all of it is so nebulous, but all of the time I'm getting influences from everywhere, subconsciously and consciously, and I'm sure the Kardashians is just, as the Osbournes before it and hundreds of shows like it before, have realised that if you get good characters and put a camera on them, good, I think, is what I think of that. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a Kardashian and be in the limelight as much as they are. But they're having to feed the beast, aren't they?
Yeah, signed up for 20 million for another 2 or 3 years, yeah. They're fine.
Amazing, isn't it?
And right at the back, 2 more questions, one at the back, and then we'll go to that. In fact, why don't we go to you first? Yeah, there you go. And then we'll go to that.
Hi, what kind of a role does social media play in the success of a show like Love Island?
Oh, it's integral, 100%. 100%, because that show moves so fast that the way that social media not only reflects what's happening in the show, but is also previewing what's happening in the show. I mean, it's completely interlinked. So just by way of an example, the social media team, who are at any point between 5 and 10 people, are in the production office with the production, on location in Mallorca, and they are part of the production team. It is completely integral, and their voice needs to mirror our voice, and it should be seamless. It's completely integral to that show.
And finally, at the back, yeah.
Obviously, you've had quite a long career, which is wonderful.
No.
No, I mean, like...
21?
No, I mean,
just
like...
started early.
I mean, like, as a woman, you've got quite a long, prosperous career, and you've done a lot of great things.
No, I'd like to get paid more. But anyway.
Well, exactly. In your experience of your career, do you think that women are in a better place now, and do you think that it's getting somewhere, or do you still feel like you have to go into a room with a white man and put in twice as much work as he does?
Of course you do. 100%. It's naive to think, A, you're a woman and you're a woman of colour, that you don't have to work twice as bloody hard as everybody else. But hopefully what this proves is work twice as bloody hard and you can still get somewhere. Of course you do. That's just utter naivety to... Sorry, I'm getting really aggressive now, sorry. It's utterly naive to think you don't have to do that. I'll tell you what I do think. There's a lot of women working in television, so that is brilliant. However, women in very, very senior positions, not so many. So what is happening there? What is happening that you can get to a certain level in this business, but seemingly can't get past it? I leave that hanging there because you may have your own view on that.
Oh, one more question, yeah. Forgot time. Just one sec for the mic. There you go.
Hi, I just wanted to ask how old you have been when you started your career in TV.
21, I think. 22.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sort of out of university, basically. I didn't hang about.
There you go. And is it better, finally, Mike, is it better now than when you started, what you were saying just now about women not getting...
I think it's probably a bit of both, actually. I think definitely when I started out, I felt like it was a much more inclusive business. Like I said, I met lots of people from different walks of life, lots of people that had, you know, from different areas, different lifestyles. I'm a Londoner. I mean, all over the place. I think what's happened now, lots of things have happened. London's a very expensive place to live in, so that's not helping. And all the business is concentrated in London, so that's not great, is it? I think that there are loads of opportunities because more television is being made than ever has been made before. I think in terms of career progression, women, you know, we have got a woman chief executive that's coming to our building starting in January, and obviously there's a woman chief executive at Channel 4, and that's great, by the way. But it's taken quite a long time to get there, and then when you look below, it's not so great. So there's definitely work to be done there, but I would say there's always going to be work to be done. And if I do anything by sitting here, it's just saying to you, anything is possible, because I swear to God, if a girl from South London can get in work in television, all of you can, because literally, honestly, it wasn't on the cards for me. It really wasn't.
Well, that's a good place to end. Thank you very much to you all for coming. Thank you. Thanks to Angela.
Thank you.
I hope you've had a good day.
Thanks, Boyd.
Thanks.